we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, everybody's going to be talking about this game, simply for the fact that this is a rematch of last year's divisional matchup. Remember, the Baltimore Ravens last year were everybody's pick to win the Super Bowl. Okay? Everybody knew that Lamar Jackson's going to win league MVP. Everybody felt like last year was the Baltimore Ravens' year to win the Super Bowl. We got robbed of seeing Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship game. We know Derrick Henry and Tennessee rolled into town, and they steamrolled their way against the Baltimore Ravens to a big upset, which continued their Cinderella run in the 2019 playoffs. But everybody's talking about their last matchup, last time these two teams made the playoffs. People forget, I don't know why nobody's talking about this, but these two teams did play this regular season. Don't know if a lot of you guys know this. People are too busy hyping up the rematch of the divisional round last year, but nobody's talking about the fact that these two teams already played against each other week 11, which Tennessee was able to pull off the victory 30-24 in overtime. My biggest concern is going to be, are the Baltimore Ravens going to be able to stop this behemoth of a man named Derrick Henry? Baltimore seems like they're just allergic to tackling Derrick Henry, because every time Derrick Henry has faced the Baltimore Ravens, he's had a big game. The last time these two teams matched up, Derrick Henry had 133 rushing yards on 28 carries, averaging 4.8 yards per attempt in a big game, winning a touchdown to win the game for Tennessee. So if you're Baltimore, I don't know what your game plan is going to be in terms of trying to stop this monster truck, but you're going to have to find a way to do so. Because obviously, if you can't stop Derrick Henry, you're not going to win the game. Now, the Tennessee Titans, people keep talking about this is a rematch of last year's division round and everything like that. But let's face it, the Tennessee Titans are not the same team that they were last year that they are this year in terms of how good they are defensively. Last year, they had a really good defense. This year, their defense hasn't been all that great. They're not great getting off the field on third down, and they don't get consistent pressure on the quarterback, which is a big reason why they can't get off the field on third down. And if you can't get off the field on third down, you make it incredibly difficult to win games in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, if you don't have a pass rush and you can't get off the field on third down, how are you going to get the opposing team's offense off the field? So Tennessee's defense isn't the same defense that we saw last year, which everybody talks about that big Cinderella run Tennessee went with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and company, but nobody talked about how really good Tennessee's defense was in the playoffs last year. You look what they did to Tom Brady in the wild card. Look what they did to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round, able to hold Lamar Jackson kind of somewhat in check, even though he still had a pretty solid game, even though people try to make it seem like it was a horrendous performance and things like that. So Tennessee's defense isn't great situationally, and they're not great getting pressure on the quarterback. For Lamar Jackson, you're facing a Tennessee Titans defense that isn't that great. They allowed 38 points to the Houston Texans. Don't really have a lot of confidence in Tennessee's defense. So if you're Lamar Jackson, this is the perfect game, perfect opportunity for you to erase your playoff struggles. Because everybody's going to talk about how Lamar Jackson is 0-2 in the playoffs. He lost the LA Chargers his rookie season back in 2018 in the wild card round. He also lost to the Tennessee Titans last year in the divisional round after the Baltimore Ravens had a first round bye. So Lamar Jackson, I think that he's pretty eager to silence the doubters in terms of him being a quote-unquote choke artist in the playoffs, and he's going to have the opportunity to have a big game against a Tennessee defense that is not that great getting after the quarterback. Now, for the Ravens, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to have to be able to stop the run game if they want to have an opportunity to win this game. And Baltimore and Tennessee are kind of alike in terms of their philosophy on offense, even though they have different ways of running the football. Both of these two teams wants to run the football down your throat, which means when you have two teams that like to run the football, whoever wins the time possession battle will most likely win the game. J.K. Dobbins has scored a touchdown in his last 6 games that he's played in. So J.K. Dobbins, like Derrick Henry, has started to heat up over the month of December. So when you have two teams that have similar playing styles, it's all going to come down to which team is execute in the biggest moments. Which team is going to execute? Which team is going to be able to have the big plays when it matters the most? Because last year, well, in the last matchup that these two teams played, Week 11, Tennessee rose to the occasion, and Baltimore couldn't find a way to get the victory. It seemed like Baltimore was just so focused on hanging on to winning the victory than they were trying to secure the victory, and they kind of played a little bit conservative, in my opinion. Last year in the playoffs, they underestimated Tennessee and got bounced out, so I'm pretty sure that the Baltimore Ravens are going to come out in this game more motivated and more determined than what they ever have been under Coach Harbaugh to win this game against Tennessee. And when you look at Tennessee, man, are you going to be able to stop Lamar Jackson and company? Because last year, you had the horses to do so. Now, not all that much. I don't know what is the big reason for the Tennessee Titans dropping defensive production, but I'm a little bit disappointed because Mike Vrabel is supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. Therefore, the defense should be the least of your problems, but it kind of is because you can't get off the field on third down. And for Baltimore, they're going to put you in a lot of third down situations, a lot of third and short situations. And if you can't get off the field on third down, you're going to allow the Baltimore Ravens to continue to stay on the field, and not only stay on the field and keep the drive alive, but they're also going to control the clock as well. When you have two teams that like to run the football, the clock is everything, because if Tennessee ends up being down by multiple possessions and they have to abandon the run game, that's going to cause a lot of troubles, because Tennessee is not a team that is built to throw the football to win a game. This is a team that likes to run the football, establishes a play-action pass game to get things going in the passing game. So for Tennessee, the run game is really important. Now for Baltimore, if they don't get their run game going, I'll be really surprised, because people are like, well, JT, what if Tennessee's able to stop the run game of Baltimore? Chances of that happening are slim to none, because even if you do stop J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson is still going to get his. Like, people like to say Lamar Jackson got shut down last year, or Lamar Jackson got shut down against Kansas City. He still had a big impact in the run game for Baltimore. So, in my version of Lamar Jackson being shut down is way different from what a lot of you guys' definition of Lamar Jackson getting shut down is. My definition of Lamar Jackson getting shut down, is him having 20 or less rushing yards on the ground. If you can hold Lamar Jackson to 20 rushing yards and he just has a god-awful game, then I would say, yeah, you shut down Lamar Jackson. But when you look at these two teams that like to run the football, like to control the clock, it's going to come down to which team is going to be able to stop the run game, because if both of these two teams are able to have success running the football, then it's going to come down to who can win the time possession battle. And lastly, whoever wins the turnover margin. If Tennessee turns the football over 2 times, or Baltimore turns the football over 2 times, whoever's going to be on the receiving end of the turnover battle is most likely going to win this game, because when you have two teams that have smash mouth mentalities, like to run the football and like to control the time possession battle, then it's going to come down to turnovers. Turnovers are really important in games like this, because every possession matters when you have offenses that put emphasis on running the football. So the team I'm going to take to win this game, I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Lamar Jackson gets his first playoff win in his NFL career. And I think the Ravens are going to beat the Tennessee Titans 27-21. It's my final score prediction in this game. I don't trust Tennessee's defense. This is a Tennessee team that is way different from what they were defensively last season that they are this year. They can't really get pressure on the quarterback, and they're not good getting off the field on third down. And when you're not good getting off the field on third down, Lamar Jackson, this Baltimore Ravens team, they're going to be able to control time possession, keep your offense off the field, and I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I know